Welcome to By the Blade, the weekly podcast where we talk about the blade and blade arts, interview makers of the blade and teachers of the blade, and anything else we can think of. I'll be your host, Rich Fern. Today's guest is my Wing Chun teacher, Sifu Andy DiGuiseppi. We just call him Sifu Andy. It's easier. Sifu started his journey in 1999 with the late Sifu Kevin Becker of Becker Wing Chun achieving his black sash in 2005. I was going to list his most impressive resume of arts, but you can read that for yourself on his website, and you should. Instead, let me tell you something that is not on his website, and only those that have touched hands with him would know. Touching hands with Sifu Andy is like trying to grasp a free-floating feather. Yes, you will make contact with it. Yes, you will even flow with it, but you will never capture it. That's how light his touch is. As soon as you exert anything resembling will, he will float away like that ungraspable feather. Only this feather feels like an anvil when he decides to exert his will. So let's give a By the Blade welcome to Sifu Andy DiGuiseppi. Sifu, how are you? And thanks for showing up and clearing your day for me.
Hey, brother, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good.
It's an honor to be featured. I hope we can cover everything that you want to cover. It's really thanks for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. When I started this show, you were, a top 3 on my list, and I just want to say that when you and I were training together, when I was training under you, we did strictly pure Wing Chun. And when we had first met, I told you my interest in the blade and stick, and you're like, well, I can do that too, and we'll get there. And we just never did. So I'd like to open it up with, what is your experience with the blade, other than just the Bart Jam Doe, excuse me.
You're saying it right. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, of course, I see, back up, like martial arts is a lifestyle. Being a martial artist, it's like you got to have that full warrior spirit. Otherwise, you can't choose peace. So if you want peace, of course, but you got to have spades. You got to have aces of spades. And that's all you got to carry. So you got to aim up and go for your best. And that said, it takes you to the weapons quick if you follow the path, like from a 30,000 foot view, like what is martial arts. So all the empty hand stuff is really for sport and to give you fitness and to give you a chance to do simulation in honestly a safe environment. Then you go up the next level, and that's obviously any kind of weaponry. So I've done a lot of Kali. I was going to say probably as much Kali as I have Wing Chun, in terms of the way that they run their weaponry, and that's because Kali in itself is largely, they don't hardly do any empty hand. In some classes, in some gyms, I've been shown the Panatukan and the Pananjakman, which is their empty hand, and it's relatable to Wing Chun. It's relatable to like a Muay Thai in some styles. It's relatable to Silat.
Yes,
but it's its own thing, and it's rare because it's like, yeah, that's cool. You learned a little bit, but let's get back to the weapon. So their focal point is the machete, really, the 28-inch plus blade. And the Wing Chun sword, I have tons of experience in training both at the same time. They're two, the technology, they're two separate, really. They're two separate machines, and that's because of the guard that it has and the design of it. It takes you on a road if you study it down into a more historical path. And again, I guess I can get as close as I can theoretically, but I know that there's a history that goes with that. Someone who was a sword historian could go into how it got the D-ring and swords of that time period. But I've got clips I save of impressions of museums that have weaponry, and you can find the Bacham Do as far back as like the 1600s, 1700s. So it's at least that old. Varieties of shapes. But anyway, so I've got a lot of experience training that, practicing with that, simulating with that. I've never had to deploy my Bacham Do on anybody. And so that said, it's rare that you have a need maybe to deploy a full machete on people. There's exceptions to that. But that said, like in the Kwun and practicing, I mean, we've taken it as far as we can. I have had a couple of instructors work live blade with me. And I've only worked live blade maybe with one of my students through the years. It's very dangerous, and if somebody doesn't have a calm demeanor and the right approach, it doesn't have a lot of value.
Oh, completely.
If it comes out, it's got to come out, and it's got to go to work. So when you simulate with it, it's you got to be smooth because it's just stupid to go too crazy with it.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah,
what do they say? Smooth is fast,
yeah,
slow is smooth, and smooth is fast.
Yeah,
And I've been training with Keating now for 8 years, and I've only done live blade training twice, and never one-on-one. It's always solo. And
okay.
yeah, because it's just really no need to go there. I guess he went there back in the day, but these days it's just, if there's maybe only a few people in class and we're just kind of flowing, okay, let's take out our live blades, but it's only been twice, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's just not necessary. I don't think.
So, backing up,
Yeah.
I appreciate that perspective. It's not necessary, but it is an important milestone, I think, in everybody's development. And you need to find a trusted brother. Of course, a senior would be better, someone better than you,
Mm-hmm.
who you can do it with. But if you're the better person in the exchange, you got to pick the right candidate who's capable of it emotionally.
Yeah.
And isn't trying to hurt you when they do it. They're trying to actually, build coordination and have the highest threat. So I think it's valuable, but it's rare that you can find somebody you trust to do it with. So in lieu of that, I mean, a rattan stick is basically a blunt object, and you can beat the shit out of everybody. And I've done tons of, heavy contact, moderate contact, light contact with the Bastogne.
Yeah.
And it's smart that they use a stick of rattan to practice that work. You don't need much more than a tap on the knuckles to appreciate its power. And that said, but that gives you an environment where you can practice a little bit of more aggressive play in how would this work or that work, or of course to spar with it, which is dueling, which is something separate from self-defense. But I've done a lot of Kali, I've done a lot of Bastogne, what I call Bastogne.
Yep.
Single and double, a billion drills, of course, the contact work. And then in the Wing Chun framework, we also have a spear. Traditionally, it's more than 8 feet, but in the last, 10 years or so, I've been adapting a smaller hiking stick, like a 6-foot stick, and that relates a lot more to the traditional short spear. And we've been doing tons of that. So Wing Chun also includes a two-handed weapon, and it's driven in the same way, but of course the range is much different. We don't throw it. You only got the one of them. You shouldn't throw it.
Right.
And that said, I have a lot of experience with also the spear. And but again, we use like a rattan stick that's a large stick, or a hardwood staff, and you can spar pretty good with it. Again, like if you get hit, you're great. You're not dead. That's how you learn that stuff. That's the ancient method of learning it. Then day of the war, day of the issue happens. Of course, you'd have to take out a real one and go to work, and you can't have too many mistakes there. This is why they made armor. This is why in the ancient world a shield was an important part of the work. Of course, brothers in arms was important, and then just sometimes I'm sure show of force, just showing up would cause a lot of problems to go away. Anyway, backing up, I've got a lot of experience practicing it. I'm so humble, brother. I call myself a practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm sure there's masters out there that would do a single move and it's over. So I try to stay humble about it. We're on our journey.
Right.
Even though I got a lot of years in logged and a lot of hours logged, it's still, I see my mistakes. So try to stay humble.
Right. And it's like that in anything we do, whether it's the martial arts, playing guitar, or heck, even playing cards.
Yeah.
I mean, you can learn rummy in a day. I learned baccarat last night. Don't ask me why, but it's super simple. But I bet you it would take a lifetime to be really good at it, even though it's a mostly chance game.
Yeah. Well, so then that said, you practice something and you get passionate, and I would say you gotta obsess. And then when you hit that level of obsession and practice hours that match, you can totally confidently say that you basically solve any problem no matter what happens. And if the blade were to happen, you'd have at least some instincts.
Yeah.
I couldn't be there for you when it happens, but if you did have the training and you really do have the obsession, you'd be surprised that very small things make very big impacts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I know you trained in a number of arts, and we threw this little conversation together really quick, so I had to do my homework really quick, because I do it on everybody, even if I know them well. And I realized I didn't know you that well, Sifu. I'm so sorry. I looked at the list on your website of the arts and people you've trained with, and it was mind-boggling. I had to create a whole different note section just to list all this stuff, and I won't bother everyone with that here. But one of my questions towards that end, towards adding in all these martial arts, do you approach it in a JKD style of I've got my few set arts that I do, and now I'm going to add some spices from these other arts, or do you try to follow most of them to the end? Or, you know, not that there's an end, but
it would be impossible to collect all of those systems.
Right.
So anybody that tells you they got a black belt in this and a black belt in that, it's possible they got the belt, but to have the instincts in a flash to pull off one thing from one style or one thing from another style, I don't think it's possible. I've always been chasing instincts, chasing reflexes. So anybody that I trained with, I just wanted to get the drills, understand the logic. I always took the Wing Chun approach. Wing Chun was my first system, and in the theories, philosophies, you're searching for the truth of a thing and the reason why you're doing something. You're searching for the logic and the strategy, like why do I do this? Or what's the best of all those things? So yes, in a way, philosophically, if you understand real Jeet Kune Do, it is not a system; it's a philosophy of taking the best and using it. And not every body type is good for every scenario or every ability. Then again, if you don't practice kick, for example, you don't practice side kicks too much, don't expect that a side kick's going to come out when your life depends on it, or when you spar somebody who's better than you.
Yeah.
That said, I never wanted to have any weaknesses, so I'm always chasing to eliminate weakness. This is a Jeet Kune Do philosophy, to discover the cause of your ignorance, as they say. But again, I'm Wing Chun first, and Wing Chun has a rich cultural military history. The Chinese systems are a little more orthodox than the Filipino systems. They're a little more organized in general. They have their classical forms, and you go back to Shaolin. I forget about Wing Chun. Just go back to Shaolin. Look at what their heritage is, and we're all in the shadow of that. So undefeated, fighting force, sophisticated. I mean, the royal family would send their sons to go learn. You just keep going back in time, and it was the hotbed of martial activity. But in the weapons, I mean, pick a way you could pick a weapon. They had a method for it, and Anyway, that said, I'm always falling back into that. So then any other system I study, I want to check it against Wing Chun. I want to check it against that hardcore truth-based philosophy. Some of the systems don't add up to it. They're collections of techniques. Like what Bruce Lee was doing was just honestly, if his students are imitating him and doing exactly what he did, they're just grabbing stuff, throwing it in a bag, and that's their art.
Right.
So they're collectors. I feel like I'm a collector at this point. What do I do when I finally? What am I trying to do? You almost can't name it. It's you have the philosophy of Wing Chun, and then you would go study Silat. Maybe they have a special move they might do. The Kali has a special series of footworks they might prefer. Again, boxing has mechanics that are completely unique. The ninjutsu has this style that's its own. I mean, things of deception and trickery and things like this. Of course, what do you use? I mean, don't give it a name. You use what works. So it's like I back up. I throw the systems away.
Right.
I mean, I guess this is a Jeet Kune Do thing. Like, it was never supposed to have a name.
Right.
But Wing Chun was never really supposed to have a name. I'm sure at one point they were just like, hey, what do you want to call it? Well, we run the short sword, and we like this spear, and we like to hit the wooden man, and so, okay, we need a name? All right, here's a name. The names are actually all Buddhist names and Taoist names. They're not really even based on anything to do with the system.
Right.
If you study the Taoist religious texts, they're not. They all come from that.
Yeah.
And so it's actually more of a spiritual naming than actually telling you what it did. And that's the case with a lot of arts. Sometimes they get family names.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes they're driven off their weapon.
Yeah. And I liked what you said that, let's not call it, don't call me anything. It's just going to come out. And, there's that whole theory of it did it, I didn't. But also, I like to look at martial arts like it's the alphabet in a language. I learned how to spell, I learned how to speak, I learned how to write a sentence, and now I'm going to write an essay. And now we're going to do a live chat, you and I. And whatever comes out, right. And we're just speaking a language. Reactionary. But
ideal is that you're ahead of the reaction, and you can see the strategy before
yeah.
an encounter happens. So all that preparation, definitely, we become collectors. That's fair to say. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been collecting Wing Chun and trying to go deeper, and I've studied with a bunch of masters who are of other lineages, trying to just see different perspectives, so I'm not caught like being too tribal or being too face down in my book to see whatever else is going on.
Yeah.
I guess I'm lucky that my Sifu passed on now years ago, and he was adamant about not worshiping anybody and just searching for the best. And we weren't like caught in these lineage wars where ours was the best and we didn't have a mind for other lineages. We wanted the best we could get. In some lineages, you could see they weren't good, or that one particular student under that lineage wasn't any good, or was only half trained. So you can have a little ego with some of it if you've been a good collector.
Yeah.
But I never tried. Like he never really pushed that whole tribal kind of stupid loyalty mentality. And so that's it. I kind of adapted that. And so I'm interested. Whoever's got the answers, I want it.
Yeah.
That said, you're collecting. You're definitely collecting. So then when you go to teach, what the hell do you show anybody? So you have to kind of systematize what you have, and time and content go together. So the amount of time you might train with a master is how deep you can go into their content. I forget the number of years you had with me, but you had a wealth of content from me. But again, it was our empty hand system.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say Wing Chun in general at large is an empty hand art. That's how most people teach it. And that's fair, but its idea comes from the Ba Cham Do. So it really is a sword system. And then they turned that into an empty hand system, which is for sport and fitness and personal cultivation, and to have a means of simulating.
Now, is that similar to Kali in the sense of the empty hands is the knife is the stick? Because I've seen you do the Bat Jam Do, and it looks very Chit Chun Choi when you're doing it at times. Like you just take away the blades and you've got your Chit Chun Choi fists.
Yeah. What he's explaining for anybody that doesn't know the Chit Chun Choi, it's a series of thrust punches. So like you could just relate it to a knife. Imagine a thrust. So what it is repeated thrusts, and that's a single type of maneuvering. There are many types of maneuverings that you could do with the weapon. I never counted, but in the histories there's supposed to be 8 paths forward and 8 paths backwards, and that's sort of some of the logic of that. But that may be hearsay. When you get into it, if you look from the top down, there's an 8-pointed star under you, and then when you look forward out of your scope there's an 8-pointed star in front of you, and then when you look at it from the profile, like the side view, there's also an 8-pointed star where you can see up, down angles. And this is just a way to break reality up. So 8 was their formula in terms of like an 8-pointed star for their logic. I don't know if I'm answering it, but that said, they're related. They're related.
Yeah. Well, you said something earlier, and I was going to ask about this. You spoke about going back to Shaolin. And I always consider those guys the classical guitarists of the martial arts. They can do anything, like you said. I noticed on your list of arts a few different styles of Tai Chi. I do a little bit myself. I do Yang short form. Okay. And do you consider that a mother art? Do you believe in the idea of a mother art?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a mother art. It's its own thing. So this is a great conversation because I feel like I've come to the conclusion, having studied the histories and actually done a number of lectures through my YouTube channel on this exact logic. Every system, I guess you could say the Shaolin systems, but almost every martial art initially was based on a weapon. And they drove that weapon using certain mechanics. So when you understand what that system's weapon is, or the types of weapons they like to deploy, you then completely understand their empty hand form. That said, Tai Chi uses the gim, or sometimes a jin, I think they call it, but it's a gim is how I'll say it. And it's just a long dueling sword. They'd sometimes have a tassel on the back. That's their saber. Mm-hmm. It never saw battlefield deployment because it's too flimsy. It's more for like, somebody dishonored your daughter, you got to go cut them to shreds. And or a duel would happen, and the two masters would duel, and the winner is basically disabled for life, and the loser is disabled for life, and the winner sits there, and his clan is now, elevated. But Tai Chi is in its language, it's a Taoist phrase. It's as a martial art, it's to drive that particular weapon. Now they also have a big long spear as well in some of the systems. So it's its own logic because their weapon is very distinct. And so you can't exactly use the Tai Chi behaviors in the framework where Wing Chun might function. They're very different. Even Kali moves differently because their saber is different. I don't know if I'm answering that well. Like,
yeah.
So then in Silat, if you have a very small knife, or the knife in Pakal grip, or you have a karambit, or you have some of their swords that resemble the golak, but they're thinner, they have some shorter bolos or barongs. They move a little shorter, they move a little closer. They may not deploy the knife until they're much, much closer, or until a kind of a grappling encounter has ensued. Then their knife would come out. They're very deceptive. They might use poison under their fingertips and have their fingertips sharpened, and so then they'll use that first, and then their blade. Their blade may have poison on it. Very different. Everybody's very different, so the behaviors are all linked to the type of weapon that the system was based on. I'm saying it well.
Yeah.
So that said, Tai Chi often has the gim, and it has a spear. I've never seen them with with any other combinations, but sometimes they'll use a fan, like they use I don't know what you call it. It's like it folds open and it looks like a folded bit of fabric. That's also found in some Tai Chis.
Right. That's big in the Japanese arts, but I have seen it in Tai Chi. Yeah.
Yeah. They also use the flute. Some systems will use a flute.
Oh, interesting.
Fascinating, right? So I could, so I've done Chen style. I did some months of that. And then once you learn something from someone, if you're serious about it and you take notes, you've collected what they gave you. Now, I need improvements, but I'll spend the rest of my life studying those bits and pieces. Of course, you always wish you get more. The master is not always available. Life is not always available. So whatever you've collected, if you have a good understanding, I don't see any reason why you can't just keep practicing what you learned and continue to grow a depth of skill in that thing that you learned. Now, those arts are very deep and rich and very nuanced, and that's what makes them. That's how you get better at them, is you go into the very small details. You do the Selim Tao thing to everything. You go really small, minute elements, the twist of this thing or the weight transfer of that thing. That's what makes it higher. But then I've also done Wu style, and I've sparred with both those masters. So I'm not going to name them, although they're on my thing. I've had a chance to test and see if they're any good. And so I don't know how to answer it, and I don't know how to continue that without making them...
Well, that's fine. I'll save you here, Sifu. I'll ask you another question. I want to give a shout out because you did not mention his name. Your Sifu in Wing Chun was Sifu Kevin Baker, and I've only heard stories. Becker. Excuse me. I mistyped and then I read it.
No problem.
Fat fingers. Yeah. So I've heard a lot of stories. I didn't have I wasn't fortunate enough to meet him. And my question on him is he the one that introduced you to Tai Chi, and what other arts did he introduce you to? That's
a great question. So he was like a savant, and then God gives you people, and then he takes them away, and then you're just in the echo of their loss for the rest of time. And he was like one of those people. But everyone that knew him had the same experience. They were like, I can't believe he's gone. He was such an incredible person and a talent, and God takes the ones he wants first, and then the rest of us have to just like adore them and miss them. That was the case with him. He first gave me Wing Chun, and shortly in my first couple of months of training also taught me a rich jiu-jitsu base, like a Brazilian style. It was largely ground fighting, and so he gave me a ton of that, and we had good instincts. And then within no time, I would say maybe 3 years after study, he started to show me some Kali. And he had an incredible array of abilities in the Kali arts and also the Silat systems. He was into Mande Buddha Silat. He was I can't remember what they call it, but he was the first level apprentice instructor under Herman Sawanda and Rita Sawanda in Mande Buddha Silat.
Really?
He knew them. He had been to a number of seminars, and he was doing correspondence with them. He was fantastic at Silat. It was he was almost more interested in Silat than Wing Chun after a certain time period in the time when he was teaching publicly. He was teaching publicly in smaller settings before I met him. And I kind of met him in the first I was like in his first class when he was back up in Connecticut. He was in Connecticut, then he was in Arizona, then he was in Delaware, then he was back in Connecticut. And anyway, he trained all over. He knew everybody. His resume was like, looks similar to what mine looks like. He just found all the best people, made it to all their seminars, killer no content, had a classroom, and just just worked it. And then anybody that was there, just you could absorb whatever he was working that day. Our focus in the general classroom was Wing Chun, and then if you stayed after class, he would share what else he was working on. And if you were in the closed group in the inner circle, we would do all kinds of stuff. He would show us Silat, he'd show us Kali. So I learned how to run a Heaven 6 from him, which is the downward weave, upward weave. And that was, I just took that home and I worked it. And I remember trying to share it. It's very difficult to teach because people aren't coordinated. But I got that from him, a deep jiu-jitsu base, a ton of Silat, all kinds of maneuvers and locks and things of this nature. And he was incredible. But again, I'm not him. So his skills are not my skills.
Right,
and,
right.
That said, I always feel like I'm in the shadow of what he did. I could chisao with him. I could never hit him. I don't know what was going on. He just hit me psychologically, like psychically so hard. I would be always on the defensive. There's that major aspect in training, like either you're attacking them or they're attacking you. And, if they're attacking you, you're a step behind, running defense, trying to close doors. If you're the hunter, they're just blowing doors open and tricking people. I don't think I was ever able to turn the tides on him. Maybe one time in the last years where I was like learning some special concepts in Chisao, I could put him on the defensive, but otherwise he was just so aggressive. So that
Really?
said, I like to dance on both sides of that play with my students. I try not to be the only person aggressing. I want them to be the aggressor. So they develop what it is that he was so good at.
Yeah.
Which we both understood was the ultimate method. But then you spar with a guy. You got the method in your mind. You spar with a guy, and if he's hunting you, you're a step behind. There's nothing you can do. You can try to turn the tides, and then he just counter-strike you. And they change arts if you wanted to. Like you're hand-to-hand freestyling with him, and then he just take you down, pull your ankles out, you're on the ground.
And I can attest to what Sifu Landy here is saying, that at least as far as him playing both sides while he's working with you, touching hands with you. I remember when you taught me, I kept turning away. So in my first Wing Chun classes, I kept turning away. And you'd start something on me and I would just turn away and give you my back or my side. And you're like, Rich, you got to stop. And I couldn't. And so you said to me one day, Rich, every time you turn away from me, I'm just going to pelt you with punches. And you did. And it took about 3 of those for me to stop that. And so I thank you for that. I haven't given my back since. See,
it's a small, I don't ever know what lesson people are going to take away. It's that small moment in a random time at a random class where you noticed that a behavior that was destructive. Your master or your instructor gave you a little tip, and you go, okay, let me try, and boom, that's it. It's now part of you. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that. I never know the echo I leave in people's heads. I just do what I do and have fun with it. I'm trying to have a good time. And but I'm really focused on growth in myself and anyone that's in the room. We've got to aim for the best. Forget about what it's called.
Right.
However, I'm definitely propagating Wing Chun as a system and its philosophy. And if I'm doing my job well through the years here, I'm trying to make sure that I do, emphasize that it's a sword system. It's not a boxing system. You can box with it, but its logic is based on the blade. And that said, it's I think among the best, but then again, very few people are doing it that way. They care about the chi, and they want to do the big shockwave energies, and they want to beat a person with a single punch, and that's cool. Or they're just on YouTube or Instagram, and they're just showing you how to do it, and they never actually, and they're showing it to you wrong, but because they got a camera and a big channel, that's what everybody thinks Wing Chun looks like.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool. When you cross train, you see how other systems look. Yeah, and you come back and you look at your original system, and you can just see it. It's just one system opens the door to the other. They're all exactly the same. They're all exactly the same in their philosophy in terms of them being blade oriented or blade originated.
Right. Well,
The behaviors are different
yeah,
culturally, but the behaviors are different because the weapon is different. You can't use a whip like you would use a dagger.
right.
They're not the same,
No,
you know?
no. But when you go empty hands, or even with some weapons, forgetting, okay, the differences of flexible weapons versus a short blade, as you just mentioned, we're really only limited by how we can move our bodies. It's all about body motion. I know that you're a big proponent of structure. I learned my base is because of you. Okay,
Yeah.
you're really big on body structure, but what about body motion and movement? I mean, can you break it down? Are we able to break it down to just those minimum movements? I can do this, that, and that's it. It's like checkers. I got 5 moves. Now, how do I deploy them?
That's an interesting series of comments there. I really see there's two arts I try to teach, and breaking it really down into its finest piece here. There's a standing system, which is where you just sit still, and that's more meditative and more personal, where you actually attempt to find stillness. And so, your heart keeps beating and you keep needing to change your breath. So there is no such thing as stillness. You're holding a shape maybe for a few minutes and, it sways and then it wants to let go. So you have to keep squeezing it. So there's no actual stillness, but we do a philosophy of like standing like a mountain. And, the first framework and it's very valuable because it gives you a sense of yourself. You propriocept yourself. You find your X, Y, and Z, and then you feel your float and you feel your heartbeat, and it's very meditative. If you don't find that first, you're going to have a hard time with movement because you won't understand what it's like to have your water be still.
Right.
And so so a lot of systems just have you jumping and bouncing and doing techniques. It's cool. They learn movement, but they never learn stillness. In the Wing Chun, you learn stillness, like water with no ripples, like a glass of water that's literally just still. Mission 1. Then you have the next piece, which I believe should be like an ocean wave, and in the way it hits the shore and recedes, and when it hits something, it just swallows it and flows past it and absorbs it, and maybe picks it up and spins it. If it met a structure that was too substantial for it, it would spiral. And so movement is very, very, very vast. The movement arts. And so first you find stillness, then you learn the movement arts. Now movement is a big conversation. I try to teach them both, man. So Wing Chun contains that philosophy of the two, the yin and the yang, if you got to be cliche about it, but it's really there's stillness, then there's movement.
It is what it is.
Movement is vast. So the body generates torque based on, a chain of flow from the way we're built as organisms. The amount of bend you put in your sockets will dictate how much payload you could put into them and how much spring force you could shoot off of them. So we get how detailed do you want to get, brother? Like we can get into the weeds on technical parts. I'm very interested in it. I see it as two skills in terms of martial arts. There's times where you stand still for meditation. Then there's the movement, and the goal is to take that stillness and maintain it while you move. You fuse the two.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to kind of go there about the stillness. I had a series of questions, but, we'll just start there, I think. Before our recording here, you and I had a little conversation. Without going into detail, I was involved in a machete attack with a few other people. Yeah. And I said to you, it was strange how I didn't get an adrenaline dump that day because it happened so fast. But that is not the norm. We all know this. So when we're talking about the tachypsyche response, as some people call it, that tunnel vision that you get through fear and how to work out of it, there's techniques. How do you reacquire that inner calm? Because that's what we all want, that stillness while we're in combat. Our body's moving and reacting very fast, but inside we're just hanging out in a pond. That's the goal, I think. And
to have the calm under chaos. That's easy on paper, and that's easy as a philosophy, and then real life hits, and I think you were gifted with that experience, because that's not normal. If I saw a machete right now talking about it, I'd be like, I'm sure my ears would blow out, and you'd start sweating, and all of a sudden your voice would change. And you know this, like if you bring your mind into it too much, you'll get psychosomatic about it, and just overthink it, and then become paralyzed by that. So when you train, you're supposed to try to eliminate that instinct. It's a fight or flight thing. the deer gets spooked, so he blitzes. He's out of there. That's a trauma response. What do you call that? It's its natural instinct. It knows what to do. It's not going to fight you. It bounces. That's probably, if that does happen to a person, you can tell you have the adrenaline response happening. You should leave. You're not going to do well.
Right.
It's going to go very bad for you if you're still in that state. Have you ever been attacked by a dog, Rich?
Yeah, when I was a boy.
Sure. I mean, anybody that's been attacked by a dog and wasn't expecting it, or the attack lasted a moment or two, that can happen. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
I've had situations where people I didn't like. This is not a great example, but somebody you didn't like their energy, and then boom, they're at an event where they showed up to something, and you'll feel that first, like your gut will sink. Before you become paralyzed with the emotion of the thing, you can recover yourself. The easiest way to do it is through breath control. So you change your wind one big massive time, and then you have to let go. You have to not care. Easier said than done. But when an instance happens in your life, when like a small and safe instance like that where you notice it is an opportunity to train it away. I like to think I'm getting better at it, but if you had that instance where a machete came out and you were able to stay calm, there's no higher expression of your work than that. I mean, that's the end. So when you fight, if you can fight or flight, the fight is that you're prepared. It's like, let's go. You want to get killed, let's go. And that aggressive, ready to go attitude, it means you're not in that flight mode. You're in fight mode, and still an adrenaline response. You're still probably going to have a heart rate that raises, but you won't. If you ever had it, man, like your ears blow out, you can't hear, your muscles get slow, your voice changes,
you can't see. You want to just lay down. Sometimes,
it's bad. It's a big adrenaline dump. It's bad.
Even with your dog analogy, it happens so quick. There's even a dump after that. Usually, it happened quick. The danger's over, but you're left with the aftermath. And oddly enough,
you'll have tremors. You'll shake. And I admittedly had had this experience in varieties of ways, but that's a good one with the dog attack.
Yeah.
I survived, no problem. But he jumped on me, wanted my neck. So that's going to be, as a younger child, that's going to be something you have to process. I can remember the echo of it in that one instance, and it just takes a little time, and it'll come back to normal. If you don't have the luxury of time because the attack continues, it could be a big problem. Like it could be you could be damaged so bad you could be killed. Of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If it was a real encounter, or if it was just a slugfest, you're going to get knocked out, or you're going to get hurt so bad and dropped. How do you train it away? I hope that was the underline of the questions.
Yeah. Well, is there a way to train it away, or is there something you can do? Okay.
Yes, definitely. So as an instinct of daily practice, you have to do breath work. And this is where certain systems of martial art are superior to others. And I'll say that because if you don't do breath work, you're not going to find it. You need to learn how to change the way you breathe to make it extremely long and natural. And what I mean by that is like, you're not overdoing it where you're trying to hold your breath or anything like this. Although that's valuable, but you do this very long bellowing breath as an instinct. And then when your training is burdened by fatigue, high intensity, you need to have a reminder to go back to that breath work. So you do this long change of wind, almost like you were running. You have to change the way you breathe. If you learn how to do that, you can call upon that at will. And then in an instance of adrenaline dumping, you can get back to a somewhat normal state in record time using a change of the way you breathe. So like our breath and our heart rate are exactly related. A lot of people hold their breath, and that's part of it. Even 2 or 3 seconds of not breathing or holding your breath, and you'll be cooked.
Yeah. Well, going back to my early days when I started sparring in your class, that's what I was doing. And you pointed it out. You're like, Rich, you're breathing up top and you're not releasing all of your air.
Yeah.
And you need to. And it's something I still work on today.
Yeah. So in Wing Chun, if it's taught properly, it's one of the first skills you get, which is that you stand still and you work on your breath work. Right. Then you would do hand work as a distraction, but it's still like you're training the breath, you're training your posturing and your framing. And so then the hand techniques are, to distract the monkey while you study those primary pieces. Then when you do drills, hopefully that's also an emphasis, is that, your coach will go around and remind you to do the form while you work. So that form is good frame, good strength, good posturing, and a steady, long, controlled breath rather than a shallow breath. Or, of course, you don't want to breathe through your mouth. So there's a whole art form to breathing. Tai Chi goes very deep into breath work if you get an authentic method.
Yes. Yeah.
Yoga goes very deep, some of the families, into breath work. And so I think martial arts should have it. It's lost in a lot of schools though, man, because they just sell belts and they just do pizza parties and,
Sorry, I'm remembering, you mentioned
on a lot of arts, right?
Yeah, no, I remember you did an open house one time, and that was kind of a pizza party, but that was great. I just watched that video the other day. That young man came in from another school, and he was sparring with Jake, and those two went at it, in a friendly way, but it very quickly went, uh-oh, and, and the Wing Chun was out the window. They landed on the ground doing jujitsu. And I've got you and I think Chris in the frame just going, oh, hey, what's going on over there?
You have to share that with me, because there were a number of episodes where people come to visit from other gyms, or they were from other systems, or, maybe it was their first class, or they trained with Sifu Ron on the other side and they want to come play with us. And, he's deep in the grappling arts, so it might be common they would just degrade and just go to wrestling. I have to share that with me, because I have a good memory. I remember almost everybody that came to study, and I remember their habits, and I remember their personalities.
Well, this guy was from the Newington Wing Chun School.
Okay.
And what's funny about that, how small this world is? This is an aside. I used to work with a girl for 10 years. Her uncle runs that school. I had no idea.
Oh, okay. It's a Wing Chun school?
Yeah, it's a Wing Chun school out of Newington. I don't know if they're still there. I think they were just called Newington Wing Chun, which yours is called Connecticut Wing Chun. So
we're not too creative with our branding.
No, that's okay though. Wing
okay.
Chun.
Yeah, I didn't. In lieu of something really cool and exotic, it was like, well, let's just show up good in the searches, and not make people guess what we're going to teach them.
Yeah, exactly. And that might be another good conversation that maybe we could have on vernacular and how, using English versus the traditional quote unquote words and how that affects teaching. But before we go there, if we do, towards that whole keeping the calm, okay, you had mentioned something earlier. I figured exactly what the words were. I didn't want to type it and make a lot of noise. I was going to ask you, how important is situational awareness towards your self-defense? I have my opinions on the matter, and I'd just like to see what yours are.
Yeah. Listen, I've done so much training with so many masters. One particular family probably gave me the most roots in terms of behavior mechanism, but my first Sifu was very generous with that strategy, and it's very, very important. And you can tell when someone's trouble by the clothes they're wearing. Then you can tell by the way they walk around. You can see by the demeanor of them, maybe, of course, whatever they say. If you enter a room and you just put your door and you just pretend you're just there and you don't care, I mean, you've left yourself very vulnerable. So I don't like. I go into places. I did security work too, so you don't like to have your back facing anybody. I don't want to be. I don't want to not notice people who look like trouble. You can spot them if you're. I hate to say it, but if you got a sense, if you got some access to your psychic powers, which I think everyone has.
Mm-hmm.
When I say access, I guess I mean awareness. Like if you're in tune with your psychic nature, you can sense trouble before it happens. So it's very important that you build it.
Yeah.
That said, you don't want to take any risks. So I like to go to a restaurant. I want to see the door. I'm the guy that's going to jump up if somebody's behind other people. I see it happening before it happens. I like to know where exits are when I go to a place. If I can see somebody I see somebody suspicious that's on my side of the road, I might just move to the other side of the road. Or as I walk by them, I say, "Hey, what's up? How you doing, bud?"
Yeah.
Right there. Cut them off early.
Yeah, I think eye contact is key. I think it saved my butt one day at a Stop and Shop. And because I had the situational awareness, okay, I'm already ahead of the game. And then I made eye contact. And just to let everyone else out there in the world know, even if you're the smallest, frailest woman, making eye contact can make that guy turn away, because most of them don't want you to know who they are.
Yeah, yeah. You got to think like a predator.
Mm-hmm.
I've taught a number of self-defense classes for colleges where I only get them for like an hour, and they're going to say, okay, teach us self-defense. I do two of them back to back. Maybe I get the same students twice. I could do a better job, but often it's a single-hour session, and it starts off. I have a little course that I've developed for it, of course, but I start off the first comment with the predator-prey conversation because most of the time the self-defense classes are girls, and it's an easy conversation to help them think differently. And yeah, man, there's predators and there's prey, and you got to think like a predator if you're going to disarm them. And they're looking for someone who's not paying attention, head down in their phone. They can tell they got the earphones in, they're not listening. Again, all these things. You could also see a person's posture really low. A target is easy to spot if you're a hunter. You got to think like a predator. That's the way to survive that. So that is situational awareness, man. That's a very important part of martial arts. It's not a single technique. So there's, we're always like collecting techniques and collecting what ifs and collecting drills, but then there's this philosophy that pervades it. And if you're going to go into the core of it, the combat requires situational awareness. Maybe I don't have a knife, and the situation is now a knife situation. Is there any chairs near me? Do I have a jacket on? Can I take a shoe off really quick? Like that's, quickly assessing the tools at your disposal.
Environmental weapons.
That's important things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being aware of your surroundings. When my kids started to head off towards college, one of them went to the big, sometimes bad city of Philadelphia. And I just said to him, do me a favor. While you're walking around that city, keep your head out of your phone. I know you want to text. I know the young generation, but you need to keep your head up and you need to keep it on a swivel because you look like a victim with your head down. And you're the one they're going to go for, not the guy who's looking them directly in the eye. That freaks them out. That pauses them. You know, that's not going to stop everybody. As a matter of fact, sometimes if you look too hard, you just mad dogged them and they're coming anyway. But, if you just have if you look like somebody who knows your surroundings, you're the last person on their list.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Predators are looking for an easy prey. They don't want to get hurt in the exchange.
Right.
It's primal. It's primal. And I think if you see that strategy, this is another truth. And you could just say, oh, that's obvious. Of course, that's like human nature. That's animal nature. But it's not taught to us, bro. Modern human has been subjugated hard. We don't know what plants to eat in the forest. We don't know how to survive the winter. Nobody was taught how to fight. A large segment of the population was told to turn the other cheek and not love the fellow man, and that'll get you so far. But you got to have the abilities before you can choose not to use them. And if you don't have them, you didn't choose peace. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Make that distinction, I'm very proud to talk about that. Like you need to train, and then you can choose to be peaceful.
Yeah, I did a few articles on it on my website where, I basically said, you're responsible for you. End of story. The cops are not there to protect you. They're to respond to you. So until they get there, it's on you. And, you can be as peaceful and nonviolent as you want, but do you want to survive? And so I think training to some extent, and I was just trying to point out that, even if you go to your family scrapper, every family's got a scrapper, go to him or her and, ask them, can you show me something? What do you do? And those 1 hour sessions you were speaking about, that alone might, like you said earlier, you never know how your teaching is affecting somebody. And just going for an hour and having that skill set sitting in your brain somewhere might help. And I think everyone, instead of going to, I'm going to go learn how to paint a tree tonight, well, maybe you should go learn how to hide behind a tree if that's what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so humanities, there's not an emphasis on self-defense as a skill set. Like swimming is a life skill. Throwing a ball is a life skill. Riding a bike is a life skill. Why doesn't martial arts make that list? It is what it is, but I don't know that it's on purpose. I think it's that there is limited access. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants it. It's in. I meet people of all walks, male and female, all ages, and everybody has the same like primary initiative, which is that they're unfortunately living with some fear. They want to get rid of that fear. They know that martial arts is the vehicle to find it, and they're ready. They can tell that in their past they were warriors. They feel connected to their ancestors. All that, dude, and everybody wants it. Again, there's just no access, and then it's not usually an elective you can take in grade school.
But it used to be, and I was going to mention that they've really gotten rid of most of those arts out of the education system. There was a time where you could box, you could wrestle, you could fence, and you can go shoot your .22 in school, and what can you do now? You can wrestle still, but there's no boxing that I'm aware of. Fencing's not until college, and that's usually a club, and good luck finding or getting into them. Trust me, I know. Oh, you also had archery. So they just don't train warriors anymore in society, and it's been a decline. But
so
people
that's
alive.
our work. That's our work, is to maintain a cultural center where that can be a thing.
Yeah.
I've always felt... I made a promise to my Sifu on his deathbed that I would keep his lineage going, and I'll dedicate my life's practice to him. I did. It was a private conversation between him and I. He was unconscious when I had the conversation with him.
Okay.
But I know he heard me, and I just said, "That's it. I'm going to pass it on. It's like a privilege." So anybody that is still teaching the arts, we're repairing what's been taken from us.
Yeah.
So I try to play my role in that.
Yeah. Well, speaking about society again and how they seem to be getting rid of the warrior, people they just seem to be scared. Not to get too private here, but I went on a coffee date, and I was at one of your Denny's style restaurants with this lady. We're playing cards. We're having a great time. And I made the mistake of telling her what I do, and she couldn't get out of there fast enough. As soon as I mentioned the blade. And there seems to be a primal fear of the blade, and how, Jim and I were just speaking about it the other day. It used to be that you either did martial arts or you were a knife fighter. It was hard to find anything that combined the two, And so let's speak to the primality of the blade. It's one of our oldest tools. Why does it instill so much fear, do you think? Or is that a social construct?
Oh, people are afraid of it? I mean, it's a killing machine. Have you ever seen what a razor blade can do to your finger if you cut a thing wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody ever played with scissors and, cut a steak? I mean, it's power. And that said, that's an interesting experience, man. So that person is obviously crippled by fear.
Yeah.
And maybe that's good. That's a red flag. They're not right for you.
Yeah.
I'll say it. Okay. I'm sure she's a nice person.
Yeah. But I've experienced it with other people as well. But she was just the most obvious example.
Yeah. Society has told them that they're supposed to be passive, that they're not supposed to fight, they're supposed to love, and that's great until somebody says, "Give me all your stuff."
Right.
Right. And you don't. Well, you're supposed to love, but actually you don't know how to resist. So I guess you're just going to have to give them all your stuff. Well, what if that's their chastity?
Yeah.
What if that's your life? So I'm against that completely. Like that, but she's afraid. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
The knife seems to invoke that more so than even a firearm. Let's say.
That's a good comment. I think they both carry the same power.
Okay.
They both make people very afraid. Having played with firearms, it's a big power. It's a grand responsibility.
Yes.
And of course, the law does not support either of those two things. So that said, they're very powerful pieces of society, and I would say that they both make people very afraid. Most people who are real martial artists have more fear of the blade than the gun. And that's, again, because the blade is so good. It can move so quickly, and you might not even see it. It's too late. Not that a gun is less powerful. I don't mean that at all. But
no.
I mean...
Well, and there's the dichotomy on this. Look how powerful that the gun seems to be compared to a blade. But even I've seen some guys whip out blades where, not to be too funny, but my testicles went up into my body cavity, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, why did I have that reaction? If he pulled out his Glock, I wouldn't have had that reaction. But that wicked blade, it touches you inside somewhere.
Yes, I think it's ancestral.
Yeah.
I always have fun with this, man. I get real esoteric. All of your ancestors are currently living inside you.
Okay.
You're the vessel. Of course, if you have a father, if you have a child, it's also in them. But everybody in your whole lineage is in you, in your DNA, and so all their life's experiences are coded in. I call it epigenetics, and it goes back. I don't know how many generations you still probably carry with you, but I bet you got them all. It's just maybe the last 10 or so are more prominent than others. In some cases, maybe your mannerisms might be just the last 2 generations because that's who you grew up with. But in your deep inside you is an ancestry, and they all use the blade. Everybody, everywhere. It's rich in the ancient society, and for centuries, that's the best they had. So I think there's a healthy fear ingrained in all of us, whether society does that, whether the movies do that. If anything, the movies are trying hard to desensitize us to it, but it doesn't. I don't think it puts a dent in what our genetics are offering us, which is just all your ancestry, who probably at one point had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And anyway, if they lived, that's why you're still here. Well, I get real traditional and real I get a lot of honor come to me when I talk about it, because I really do, my whole ancestry is with me. And I tell it to my children all the time, don't disgrace your ancestors with behavior like that. They're watching you. Or whatever. People take that as fantasy. It's fine. It could be fantasy. But I think the blade gives fear because we all know its power. You don't hardly need to know anything. Maybe a young child wouldn't know. But anybody who's ever, used a stake, cut with scissors, had a cut. You ever played with a box cutter and had to cut anything and cut yourself?
Mm.
There's good fear, quick, early. The skin is no match for anything that's been sharpened. And then, of course, if you take the right mindset, you go, okay, that's power. I need to now know how to wield that power. And so I don't know. It's almost every man I've ever met is fascinated by the sword.
Yeah.
And rightfully so for all these reasons. We
Yeah.
see the power it has. We see it. And then a woman who's very afraid of that, or afraid of a personality that's like that. Again, she's crippled by fear. She's had she had a terrible spell cast on her, actually. And it's just like the adrenaline thing. It's hard to unlearn. You need a vehicle to unlearn it. She'll need to have somebody get rid of that spell for her. It'll probably never happen.
Right. Well, quote unquote knife fighters used to have a really bad stigma attached to them, and I think that still exists to an extent. It's probably easier to say I do Filipino martial arts or something like that, but yeah, I've gotten some strange reactions, and I had to learn quick just to shut up.
Yeah,
I do martial arts.
I call it kung fu.
Yeah,
because nobody's going to remember the name of
exactly
the system. They're going to say, "What is that name? What is it? Why? Okay." And then what do you do? Is that like karate? So I just call it kung fu, and then I get to talk about the finer points rather than what method I deploy. And everybody thinks, "Oh, kung fu, okay, wow, that's cool. Am I going to learn to meditate?" Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think we've been on this kind of road here, you and I've been trying to gear it towards the blade here, talking about the tachypsyche and situational awareness, and politics aside, because I never do politics. I'm not going to do any politics on this show, but we have the reality of a lot of knife violence for whatever reason. We won't need to sit here and say why there's a lot of knife violence, but it's everywhere in the world right now. It's in America. I experienced it. It's in Europe. It's everywhere. And 10 years ago, somebody could reasonably say, why are you training with the machete? You'll never be attacked with a machete. 10 years ago, that was a reasonable thing to say. Not reasonable to believe in, but to say. These days, you can't. So, we know about the reality of needing to train. Which art do you think would be a good place to start?
That's a great question. Everybody's got, they come from their own personal place of what they want to accomplish with the martial art. So I guess I would say be careful where you go, because you might end up, training with somebody who's half trained or is only training the sport aspects of a thing. Yeah, but if that's all you want and you just want the fitness, I don't try to diminish the karate schools and the taekwondo schools and the Hapkido schools. And
Anything's better than nothing, right?
Anything is better than nothing. The boxing, you know what? If you're just looking for self-defense and you only want to do hand-to-hand, you do boxing or you do Muay Thai or even a regular old jiu-jitsu, stand-up jiu-jitsu, and you're a murderer. You can kill everybody. Even the boxing, jab cross, everybody loses.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for something more sophisticated and you are interested in journeying into weapons, you need to find a more traditional art. In the Kung Fu arts, it's actually kind of not fair to start with them because they won't let you touch the blade until they trust your character. That's the heritage that I was given, and then I try to apply the same rule. I don't trust anybody, and so no one gets to learn the blade until I can tell they're my brother. Not my family brother, I mean like my spiritual Kung Fu brother.
Right.
So it might take a few seasons before I trust people with that work. And then once we go into it, that's it. The gate is open, and we just go as far as we can. If you're looking to learn weaponry right away, I suggest Kali. But they'll usually do a stick and a practice dagger, but that's good. Like you'll get right into the reflexes of how to behave, how quickly you could lose your hand in a fight or lose your finger in a fight, and what we call defang the snake, which is an early philosophy in the Kali, and probably in all knife fighting. Although I don't know much of Bowie art systems or any of some of these other, like the native culture or the tomahawk culture, but if you can take the weapon out of the person's hand, you ought to. Sometimes a distraction or throw coins or of course if you had a dart or something you'd use that. But talking strictly like people who are looking to develop skills, you have to, I guess, first take attendance. What do you want? If you want the blade, I would point you at Kali because you'll get it sooner. But it has it has usually a surface. The techniques are at the surface. There is usually not a deeper art in terms of meditation or in terms of spiritual philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually missing. There's no meditative vehicle. Often there's no forms, so there's nothing you can do by yourself except Karenza or just freestyle shadow fighting. You can hit a target, but it's valuable if there's something you could do for meditation, and that's where the Kung Fu arts are very rich. So I don't know how I'm not contradicting myself. Depends what you want. If
right.
you just want self-defense, go take a boxing class. You're going to be a beast.
Yeah.
But you got to spar in that class. You can't just say, oh, yeah, I do boxing, I hit pads. You got to have your coach put you in and let you spar, and then you can see what you're missing.
Yeah, because you just might turn away and give your back like somebody
you just think you're good because you can hit pads, and then the guy throws a jab cross and you're asleep.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is the same thing. Like the jiu-jitsu arts are good. You get locked up, gripped up, and then you toss them. You could be killed being thrown on your head in a single sweep, even a traditional sweep, outside sweep or something. You fall, you hit the back of your head, you're out, you're dead.
Yeah.
So they're very, very powerful. And if you're in a good group, they'll let you do either randori, which is the judo method, or you would do like a newaza, which is the low ground jiu-jitsu, and they'll let you actually really try to resist and fight and see if you can submit the person. They're sport oriented though, like you wrestle up with somebody and okay, they tapped you out. There were probably 500 times in the exchange you could have bit them or put your thumbs in their eyes,
yeah.
or you know what I mean, or broke a finger back, and so they're sport systems. The jiu-jitsu, the boxing systems. Boxing, forget it. I mean, the jiu-jitsu versus boxing, the boxer's done. If provided the jiu-jitsu guy goes for a low takedown,
right?
If he tries to stay standing, I think the boxer will get him.
Yeah.
Even the kickboxing styles are good. You kick a guy in the nuts, the fight's over. You know what I mean?
But do you need training to kick somebody in the nuts? My sister didn't
probably not.
Growing up.
You probably know it. But
yeah.
It gives you a vehicle where maybe you could go with a friend and develop some targeting skills. Now then you would spar and you'd see whether or not you have the reflexes to pull it off. And that would be, I think, what you're looking for. If you're searching for a school, you need some gym that will give you some vehicle for resistance. You need to be able to play chess and lose all the pieces in a safe environment so you can see, okay, this is what I have to work on next.
Mm-hmm.
So that said, I get the rattan sticks are perfect for the Kali. In Wing Chun, we now they've developed these polypropylene swords, and we've been buying them, trying all the different manufacturers. They're awesome. They're indestructible. They're pretty authentic designs. They're hard to come by because they sell out real quick. But
okay.
I've got a couple of pairs that I really like. So with the senior brothers, we'll use those. I mean, dude, you take a touch on the fingers and you know it. But that said, if they slash it across your chest or across your neck, I mean, it's plastic, rounded. You're not dead. You're in your simulation, you've lost, but in practice, it's quite safe. I in the years past, and still with my favorite senior brothers, I have metal, and those are superior because in much less of a weight load transfer, your finger is decimated if it gets touched, and of course they're heavier, so they have like a little bit more natural feel to it of what the real blade would have. The problem with the metal is that when you play with them a little bit, they get burrs, and so by accident you could reap it across the guy's shirt and rip his shirt, or if it touches his flesh, it could rip him easily. Just the burr. Imagine it were sharp. So that's a higher level of training, and so we do that a lot. I mean, it's again like the metal is the best.
Yeah.
You can use dull metal. I recommend it. So this is a long spiral. I'm sorry for letting me ramble.
This is exactly where I wanted to go.
Advice with anybody that is out there searching for martial art, you have to say to yourself, what are you looking for first? What do you want? What kind of fear do you want to get rid of?
Gotcha.
And that would kind of empower you to make a decision. If you just want the fitness, there's plenty of that. I mean, any style. If you're looking for something a little bit more culturally distinct, of course I'm biased. I love Kali, but I can't get my hands off Wing Chun. It's so rich. And then when you study the religious parts of it, the Taoism and the Buddhism, it's got such a deep well. You'll never get to the bottom of it. The combat aspects, it's the finest there ever was. And then I see those exact instincts, those aspects. I see them in the other systems. But again, you don't see the vehicles for meditation. And
no.
Again, if you want something slower and you're working on rebuilding your body, maybe a Tai Chi is better for you. If you stay with your master long enough, and if you can confirm that he does know the sword, their sword play is fantastic.
Wow.
So that's also will give you a nice vehicle to have meditation, fitness, hopefully some resistive style reflexes, and then eventually they teach you the saber.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, and we're just flowing here, like we were doing some Chi Sao. So wherever you go is good for me, and I do want to take a left turn here, like Paul McCartney would do in any of his songs. You mentioned earlier about animals. We were speaking about situational awareness and how predators go after the weaker. And, I love observing animals on YouTube, cat videos. But what you see is just what you said. We watch these cougars go after the slowest and the smallest in the herd because they don't want to get hurt. Arts have been studying animals for years. Do you study animal like that? And, when did you realize the importance of it? I know early on when we're young, we hear about monkey style kung fu. Oh, that's silly. But not really, is it?
Yeah, there's two parts of this. Like there is with everything, but in the Wing Chun philosophy, this was the comments that were given to me. We were no longer looking to imitate an animal like a mantis or a snake or a crane. We didn't want to be like that. We wanted to imitate. Wing Chun is intended to be a human system because a human behaves a certain way. But if you go back to Shaolin and you go into the heritage, there's the snake, there's the crane, there's the mantis, there's the monkey, tiger, leopard, whatever, dragon. And this was ancient man's way of talking about the behaviors of those animals because they definitely had centuries of observing them in nature and wondering why were the humans so weak and not able to fight. And it was, because they're missing their animal nature. So let's study the animals and see what they can teach us. And so animals can be a wonderful teacher. So I don't like to totally throw out the baby with the bathwater there in the animal systems. I think the snake element is tremendous. You literally channel the energy of a snake fighting. The crane and maybe your ability to quickly claw or reap at something is valuable. Should you channel a crane in that moment? Maybe in the beginning it's not. It's a technical. You just do a move. As time goes on, you'll see this. That the animals do behave a certain way. There's a lot of lessons we can pull from them. It's hard to observe them other than video. So like you can observe them in video now, but in real life, they probably would never show themselves to you.
Correct.
Animals,
yeah.
they say they won't even show themselves to you. If you see an animal in nature, it's because it wanted you to see it.
Mm-hmm. Especially the cat.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a mountain lion or a mountain cat, they'll never let you see it.
Yeah, I'm in cougar country here, and
Yeah,
I was,
no, dude, you don't even know that. You'll never find them. They'll never let
yeah,
you see them.
yeah,
If you did, you're in big danger, actually.
yeah. It was one of the first.
Probably, yeah.
It was one of the first things they said to me. I started hiking when I moved out here, and everyone I told, they went, "Oh, careful! There's bears and cougar out there. Bears and cougar. Oh my, you know." And I've seen the bear. I know I was stalked by a cougar one night because I kept hiking in the afternoon in the spring, and in canyon country, that light goes real quick, and I kept getting caught without a flashlight, like the idiot I am. And one night I know I was being stalked. It was just that primal feeling. I believe in the inner voice. I really do. Knowing when to listen to it is always somewhat been a challenge, but I tell you what, every time my life is dependent on it, I've listened to it and survived, and known that afterwards, man, what if I hadn't had that thought come into my head to do this, that, or the other thing?
Yeah. No, mountain lions are no joke, dude.
Yeah.
Cougars. Yeah. That's so there's wisdom the animals have for us. And again, like if you see it happening, boy, they can spike that adrenaline up quick. It's ancient. It's ancient, ingrained in us from the beginning of time, like to fear them.
Well, we were hunting.
So then that said, we see their power. We see the power they hold. So it's no wonder why, maybe in the Shaolin expression, that they were interested to emulate the animals. Again, though, like I'm not a cougar. I'm not a mantis. However, I can behave like those things. And I think in the highest level, you do channel the animal, and maybe in the intermediate level, you throw it away. In the beginning, maybe you're looking at it, say, "Oh, that's cool. I'm going to move like a snake." Later, you're like, this is not that valuable. And then I've been doing it so long, I am interested to pick up how the animal moves. I have chickens. You ever seen the way a chicken walks around?
Not that close, but yeah.
They're masters. They got the one-legged stance. They're the best you've ever seen at the one-legged stance. It's really incredible. And so you can Jones out, like just watching them move. If you have a cat at home and you just watch how the cat behaves, I mean, they're silent. They're so silent. The way they carry their gravity is incredible.
Yeah. I've had a number of cats that I've observed like that, and also the tons of videos. And one of the things I found out early on is that it's not their front paws or their teeth that you need to worry about. It's those rear legs, because as soon as they latch onto you in a almost Tai Chi like clinch, they start with those back feet going for your belly.
Yeah, they're running up you.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. So I don't know if I'm answering the question in terms of animals, but there's a lot to learn from watching them. I think there's a value in it. It's this is one of those things, like you don't even need a martial art to anchor to appreciate that.
No.
Like you do need to spend time in nature, and of course you got to get real quiet. I have an uncle who's now retired at hunting, a cousin who's a avid deer hunter, bow hunters. And I've had conversations with them where they share just, what it's like to be in the forest. And they, you're in a tree stand. So of course they're cheating, but they're trying to come home with the trophies. So that's okay. I don't mind it. I like the venison jerky they bring home for us.
Yeah.
But my uncle especially says, you get up there and you're there for a couple minutes, and 5 minutes later the forest forgot about you, and then you see all the wilderness come to life, and you're one with the Creator, just sitting there watching it all play out. And I get why they like it. So
yeah,
anyway,
that's
you
great.
Need opportunities. I think it's good to have opportunities to go and observe animals.
Yeah,
because they have not been untrained like we have. They're still, their instincts are pure.
Yeah, it's funny. I learned a few years ago. I got a couple of kittens at the same time, and like most kittens, they run around like psychos through the house, and they're attacking everything and wrestling each other. I found out from the vet that there's an actual chemical that runs through a kitten for about the first year that causes him to do these things so he can learn how to hunt and protect himself. And it's just all automatic. And at about a year, this, whatever it is, chemical hormone just dissipates, and now they've got skills.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Cats are just, they're fast. They react faster than anything out there. And they can also strike faster than most other animals. I mean, I've seen a million on cats against snakes, and the cats win every single time.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The cat versus the snake. Absolutely. They're unbeatable. They're unbeatable.
They seem to be.
Yeah, yeah.
They seem to be.
There really is like, there's several distinctions between each of the species. Like a dog has also lightning reflexes, many of them, but they're sometimes very clumsy. They'll fall and roll, but they'll get back up. And whereas the cat like doesn't fall, they're very, you know, again, it's the claws. It's got to be that they just have it. But their twitch reflexes and their awareness. Yeah, you see them fight snakes, dude. They don't ever lose.
No. Somebody's always got to go, and it's not going to be the cat.
Yeah. But birds of prey are like that too with snakes, and that's a fascinating, like, ancient thing that they must have observed, and you could see it if you ever watched, you know, animal shows and such. But like certain birds of prey, that's their favorite food is snakes, and you know, snakes, God bless them with all their venom and their ability to rip things and constrict them, but like a bird will come in and just absolutely ruin the thing.
Yeah.
Just a gripping of the claw, and then in one punch of the head, that whole head is ripped off, and that's a snack. So there's something deep and ancient about the combat between the snake and the bird of prey, and I think also, you know, between the snake and the feline species.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It is. You get nerd out.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I remember one time we had a guy. He was a doctor, and he came from a mantis kung fu school, and he visited us quite a bit for a short time. And I remember the first time I saw him, we were doing chain punching drills, you know, going across the school, coming back, you know, and I'm watching him do his mantis style. Now, I'm in my 40s when I'm training with you. I thought I was an adult, and I had to stop myself from snickering because I'd never seen it before, and it looked silly. But once no, not at all. Once I stopped my snickering and my immaturity there and started to observe this guy, I went, he's got me left, right, all day long, and twice on Sundays. This guy had skills, and I finally saw it. And it only looked funny to me because I'd never seen it. Because, you know, we're doing the whole straight blast chit chun choi thing, and he's got his, you know, well, whatever you call those things, you know, that a mantis has. And, you know, he's poking with those finger jabs, and, you know, I had nothing but respect for him and a skill and, you know, a new way to look at things.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Mantis is also a formidable, you know, warrior in its animal kingdom. Like, it's the king of insects. And I think it's fantastic. When I was a young boy, I saw a mantis in my neighborhood, and it was like a pivotal moment. I was like, look at that thing. That's my favorite bug. And we didn't touch it, you know, because they say they were protected. But we got real close to the thing. They're really fat. They're aliens, dude. They're not even, like, they look so crazy. But they're the kings of that environment, and it's because of their claw. It's 100%. Like that thing they have, you know, their finger drop, whatever it is. You're not getting out of that. That's like a blade in Pakal grip. Well, I call it Pakal grip, spit grip, or
reverse
grip. Yeah, reverse grip. That's the same thing. Of course, blade facing in. Can we have that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Are you a blade out or a blade in guy?
I'm a whatever it takes guy. I've trained blade out and I've trained blade in, and
for sure.
To be honest with you,
reverse grip.
Yeah,
in reverse grip. That's the thought, right? Is it blade in or blade out? And they usually culturally they say no, blade out, or oh no, blade in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So, you know, I've been taught anyway, my experience, that the way to do the reverse grip is with blade in, even though a lot of us do it with blade out, because you're capturing with that reverse grip, and with that blade in, you're also cutting them at the same time. But we also have our choice of respect for life if we have that option. Yeah.
So I bring that up because, you know, if you want to utilize the power of the mantis maneuver, when you have the blade facing, if it's in reverse grip, if you have the blade facing in, basically you have your grappling available, and nobody can escape that hold. It's nightmare scenario.
Yeah. Who would pull away?
You can't pull away. It just sinks the knife deeper.
Yeah.
Yes, fascinating. But so like if it's blade, if it's in reverse and the blade is facing out, you still have that clawing maneuver. You still kind of have some control, but it's not as deadly. So that's a nice little strategy conversation. But the mantis holds the jewel of that a little bit because that's the essence of it.
Yeah,
is that claw that has fangs that you can't escape. You can't get out of it.
wow. Yeah, I in my driveway one day, our yard mantis had just parked it in the driveway, and I didn't realize why he was being so calm, but it was because he was eating, and I was able to get down there and get a really great detailed picture, and then zooming in, he's got his arms folded, and it was hard to see at first, but he had the head of some insect inside of that. I don't know what you call them, teeth within their claws, these spurs. I was like, wait a minute, What is that in there? It's the head of his food. And I think that's why he was so calm that day.
Yeah, you caught him at snack time. That's funny.
Wow.
That's funny. Well, yeah, so the mantis is really fascinating. I can't recall the fellow who did mantis at my gym, and again, like I can't recall the years you were there, only because it's a blur. I feel like I'm the same, but I know I've been getting better. I want to say I've been getting better at my stuff, but just a little bit more gray in terms of like seeing my own growth. But otherwise, I feel like I'm the same, and like because so many people have come through the gym, it's hard to remember the people that didn't stay.
Well, he was just visiting.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there between 13 and 16, and I don't know what year he was there, but he came in for a bunch of classes over like a month period, and then he disappeared. He was just visiting, and he said that, I want to come see what you guys are doing. And he acquitted himself well, taught me a number of things, and he doesn't even realize it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that perspective. Again, like I never know. I cannot remember where they came from until they've been with me for a long time. And then I'm like, oh, I remember you used to train in this school or that school. And, because you talked about it a few times or something.
Well, I have to ask you something, because I'm about to speak to Ron here soon, hopefully tomorrow.
Cool.
And there's something that happened at our class, and I'm going to ask Ron about it to see if he remembers. Maybe not, and maybe you don't either, but I've never had the opportunity to really speak about this. So I was at your class, and your classes are an hour and a half. You did 2 a night, and I always showed up for the second session. And what we worked on that night was Pak Sao. And not just any Pak Sao. We spent almost the entire night of somebody throwing hands, Chit Chun Choi, straight blast, and somebody having to Pak Sao each one. And we went back and forth and back and forth, And so after the class, you've got your back up against the bookcase that used to be there. Ron's right in front of you, and I'm to your side facing the two of you. And he's speaking to you, and I'm not going to interrupt a senior, right? I was biding my time like I did every night after class to speak to you. And all of a sudden, Ron turns to me, doesn't say a word, doesn't say anything, and starts straight blasting me. And because I'd been doing it for the past hour and a half, I think it's the only reason I survived this little fun attack Ron did to me. I just started backpedaling on my tiptoes, and I pox out every one of them until we went back about 10 feet until I hit that heavy bag the 2 heavy bags that used to hang in front of the sitting area. I bumped into that, and it was all in good fun and a joke, but I couldn't believe I was even able to do anything,
Yeah. So it's like a case study for mass repetition and how it just tapped your nervous system, and you had instincts.
Yeah. Do you remember that at all?
I wish I could say yes.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Ron is such a great personality, and he'll love everybody, but then at the same time, like he'll test you and see if you got the reflexes. So he might sneak up on you one day just saying hi, and
that's what he did.
Just for fun, just like do a little move on you, and just that's something we all do to each other.
Yeah,
he's guilty of that, notorious for that. So that's funny that you remember it. I can't recall, only because he does it so often. And, you're not alone. That once upon a time he'll come and check on everybody.
He was always part of your class, whether he was teaching or not,
Yeah.
And he's got such an infectious laugh. Ron's a great guy. He really is.
Yeah, he's the best of them, dude.
Yeah, he's so knowledgeable.
Yeah, I'm still up at that gym. Shout out to them, Practical Self Defense Training Center, Waterbury, Connecticut. He has been in he has been teaching since the 80s.
Mm.
I think his gym opened in 87 or 88.
Mm-hmm.
And he had multiple locations, but his enterprise has been going for so long. And I've been with him almost, I'm going to say probably 20 years at this point. This year will be 20 years.
Wow.
Or I've been teaching in that gym.
Yeah.
I first met him in 2001. And from that day, I said, dude, that's it. This guy's got secrets. I'm going to keep training here. And so I've basically been up there since 2001, but I'm only teaching to the public and being an instructor level from like 2006 on.
Gotcha.
Anyway, he's the best, dude. He's still going. We're still holding on. We almost lost everything with the COVID shutdowns. They killed all the gyms in Connecticut. I helped him recover it and built a web platform for him and helped him get organized and do some marketing. And we're hanging on. We're still hanging on. It's a hard thing, dude. Martial arts is a revolving door. As soon as people get home from work, maybe the hobbyist, and that's it. The Netflix and chill is in direct competition with them going. So it's hard. And as soon as people's finances or their personal life economy hits a little hardship, usually the gym gets the first thing that gets eliminated, and it's sad. But that said, he's still holding on, man. We got a great culture there. It's a beautiful facility. We remodeled it. Yeah. And it's just gorgeous. And we've got that's 4,000 square foot facility.
Wow.
Half of it, 3/4 of it is padded with like a high density padding. All the walls are padded. We have a cage. We have a boxing ring, which I think was there in the years you were there. The Wing Chun side where we practice is all hardwood. I've got Mukyeon Jongs across the wall. Punching, we do like a sandbag for hand development. We got 4 or 5 sandbags. Have a plum flower dummy, which is the thing you step on top of. We got a great facility up there.
I remember that.
100% because of him. At least it's doing what it's doing. I mean, he's the head honcho.
Well, I was going to mention your schools, and I guess now it's time to do some shout-outs. First, I want to let the listeners know, and I'll put these links and any other links you want me to, Sifu, to, they can click on when they go to the podcast, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or Amazon and iHeart Music. ctwingchun.com is Sifu Andy DiGiuseppi's website. Go there for everything that you want to know about Sifu Andy and to start training or start that conversation you want with him. He does train out of Waterbury at the Progressive Self-Defense Training Center.
Practical Self-Defense Training Center.
Oh, did I say progressive? Forgive me. That's another guy. That's another guy.
Yeah, if you can remember the acronym, it's psdtc.com.
Yeah, I have it typed out like that, and I forgot about the practical. But yeah, absolutely. Do you want to give a shout out to that address?
Yeah, well, that's 847 Hamilton Avenue. That's the HQ. But now I'm my own instructor, so I also rent space. I live in the northwest part of Connecticut, and I've also got another space that I rent up there. And
is that New Milford?
That's in New Milford.
Okay.
And I'm at Zendo Jiu-Jitsu. I rent the Saturday mornings there, and I've been there almost 3 years. We're going on our 4th year, I think. Mm-hmm. Got a small clan that we're growing up north, and but for the time being, as long as Sifu Ron runs a gym, I'm going to be up there. We built an awesome facility. That's still, I call that the HQ because we have the dummies up there. Mm-hmm. There's a dedicated Wing Chun training area, and that's a bigger population of students.
Do you have a special website for your New Milford school, or is that CT?
No, it's the same. Just CT Wing Chun, and that'll give you all that. It also has access to my YouTube channel. I'm a little bit delinquent in terms of releasing another episode, but I've been doing long format lectures studying people's arts and going deep into the Wing Chun styles. I did a whole piece on everybody who had a sword form that I could find online. I did a commentary similar to what we're doing now, but we'll watch their forms and comment. Did the same thing for their long pole, did the same thing for all the wooden dummy systems I could find. I did 2 of those actually for wooden dummy, and I'll keep going down other topics, but for right now, the higher forms are what I'm interested in. The beginner forms, again, like they're for sport, they're for fitness, and for meditation. And I don't see them as the line in the sand or the real parts that represent the method. The sword form and the spear and the dummy are like our finest work. So for now, I've only done lectures on those. But if you get on my YouTube, you'll find there's a ton of videos on that and some demos. And I do have a private video gallery that I make available to active students or people who are long distance students with years of lectures and over the shoulder lessons from seminars.
Right.
And I try to make resources available. I've done a bunch of like training charts. You can find that in my store as well. Those are breakdowns of the system. I'm an artist, so I spent years capturing notes, and I've been trying to put those into cohesive, documentation that I could then share with people. Honestly, for the sake of teaching it, just making it easier to teach. And so I'm making those available. And I don't know, just if somebody wants one, let me know.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm going to have the link for your YouTube channel. I'm going to ask you to send me those links later on. But
sure.
How are you known on YouTube?
Yeah, I think I'm calling it CT Wing Chun, but it also might be, I think I'm calling it Warriors Guild. And then I use my acronym of CTWCK. I can go to YouTube right now and tell you. Hold on.
Okay.
I think it's Warriors Guild. Now, that Warriors Guild is a twofold thing that I'm working on. I'm building a small, lifestyle brand around martial arts. And then my lecture series, I'm kind of introducing it in that way. I've done a number of interviews, podcast style interviews, and I've kind of titled it that. Again, Wing Chun is very, very targeted towards this particular art. I practice and coach and teach, but it doesn't capture what I'm doing. I think because it's so culturally distinct, and so then I pull back a little bit here, and I just love that phrase of the Warriors Guild. Having played Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, and it turns out very few people have it, so I coined it this. And then I have a small clothing line I'm working on that has graphics that support that. And so the channel is sort of built around that.
Oh, that's so awesome. And I want to tell everybody right now,
Guild.
The Warriors Guild, I want to tell everybody right now, Sifu Andy is just as good an artist as he is a martial artist. His artwork is just amazing, whether he's doing it on computer or on a pen. I think and actually, as an aside, probably we'll speak on this personally. He does some work with spirals and in his art, and they're just amazing. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what your clothing line is going to look like. I think about this all the time, of all the people that come into my life, the ones that mean something to me, or have affected me in some sort of way. Mm-hmm. And I may not know it right away, but almost to a person, they're an artist of some sort. My best man was an artist. You're an artist. James Keating is an artist.
Yeah.
I just know so many artists, and it's not like I seek them out. It's just eventually it comes out, and I have to say to myself, here's another artist. So I don't know what it is, because I'm not much of an artist. My mom had it, my sister had it, I had it, and then let it go, and it was a perishable skill.
Yeah. You mean to say the people that have inspired you are like painters and illustrators like that?
Yeah. Well, whether they inspired me or whether they're close friends, I just keep finding artists like that coming into my life. A lot of musicians too, but I'm a musician, so that's an easy one, right? But yeah, it's just interesting, and I love your artwork. I'm just so fascinated by it, and I haven't
seen. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
they're musings, though. Often it's like some bit of esoteric knowledge will touch me, and I'll say, "Oh, I have to do a piece on this," and then I'll toil over it for months. I'm at a desk often, so a ballpoint pen is accessible, and I can start and stop easily. So, although I do paint. It just takes so much time to set up that mostly I do pen and ink because it's just easier. I can let go of it at any point, put it back in the book, and it's fine. But that's it. I've been kind of steering that over towards the martial art work and doing pieces that are martial art inspired. Again, not technique based. It's more like the big stuff. Like there's a yin and yang in the sky, and it is absolutely the most incredible thing when you see it. And I've done half a dozen illustrations on this massive symbol that keeps showing up and in the realm we live in.
Wow.
And then that's found everywhere in the martial arts in terms of a behavior pattern. I'll spill the beans on it. There's a figure 8 that you could say you see when you go left hand, forehand, backhand, right? There's a figure 8. What is it called? A parabola?
I don't know.
It's an 8 on its side.
Okay.
That contains the X and the 2 circles on the 2 sides.
Mm-hmm.
That shape is absolutely heavenly. It's the toroidal field. And our whole realm is based on that. Mm-hmm. Everything that you could pick out of the sky is doing that. And so I've got a number of pieces that's happening to that I've illustrated in the last year or so. I could share with you a link to a place where I've got a large library of that stuff, but you let
Yeah.
me know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, after the show, when you have a moment between your work, your family, and everything else, if you could send me a list of the links that you want me to share, we'll definitely do that. Right now, I kind of want to ask you, I know that your day job is art based through the
Mhm.
computer. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and plug your company and what you do if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah. Short and sweet. If you can spell my last name, you've got the company I've developed. We call it DiGiuseppi Studios. Heritage to my ancestry. And just DiGiuseppi.com. And then there's a homepage you can see there. It gives a breakdown of what I do. Um, it's strategy first, and then just ultra high end creative. I want everybody to look their very best. So I try to do that kung fu thing on people's businesses. And a business could be something like you're a music instructor and you just want to have a nice, clean place for people to come visit and see what you do. Or you could be a Fortune 500 company and you're running campaigns every day of the week and you need your stuff to look good so that your sales team feels confident. I build all kinds of things. It's like graphics are like another form of meditation, and toiling over typefaces and photograph edits and laying out pages. And I do a lot of web development. We do a lot of tech support. I'm a solopreneur, so it's just me. I do have a handful of subs, like contractors that can do things that I can't do, like photographers or videographers, or
Right.
I got a great person I send everybody to for headshots. I don't do headshots. Somebody who's fantastic at the high end server side code, I'll work with him. People in IT, I'll refer to, but again, like try to do the strategy first, and then we're basically doing branding, and
Okay.
that's what I would call it because that encompasses it. You need a symbol, and you got to put it on everything. You need a story, and you got to put it in everything. You don't want to tell them the whole story right away. You got to figure out what you say first, second, third. It's just like teaching. If I taught everybody and corrected them over and over and over again, every class, they'd probably quit early because it's too many corrections. So you kind of want to do the same thing with your sales pitch. It's just sales is just education, and so you got to walk people into it in an intelligent, progressive way. But we it's like spellcraft though, man. So again, like it's the highest form of martial art. What I'm doing in the creative work, we didn't
Right.
throw a single bullet, but we convinced minds. You know,
Wow, that's a really interesting way to look at all of that, especially your comment on sales being about
yeah,
education. I've never
it's
found
just
my.
education.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it really is. So, is there anything coming up? I know that the Practical Self Defense Training Center every year, maybe even bi-yearly now, I don't know, did a annual JKD Wing Chun seminar, and I was fortunate enough to attend a number of those and even film some of them.
Yeah.
Um, are you still doing that, and do you have anything else coming up that you want to shout out to and make people
Yeah, I
aware of?
appreciate you bringing that up.
Mm,
We do still run that every year. I've been doing that with Sifu Ron now repeatedly. Our last one was last year, and I think we're probably like in our 12th or 13th year that we've done this. And it's usually in the spring. Last season we did it in the late spring. This season I think we might do it in March. I don't have a fixed date, so I'd ask everybody to just go check me out on YouTube. Link into that. If you find me on the website, maybe throw me an email if you're interested. I'll put you on the newsletter list. But I do have a seminar coming up, probably end of March. We'll do that. It's a joint seminar with Sifu Ron and I, and he'll get the morning or I'll get the morning, and somebody will do Jeet Kune Do expression, and then um, his team will demonstrate for him, and he'll do the lectures and the details, and then I'll run the Wing Chun series. It's a beautiful full day workshop, and we usually pick a topic and then focus on that topic. And I don't have a hard date yet because it's still soon, but we did just talk about it last week.
okay.
Um, I've got. I'll give a small shout out to anybody who's nuts about Wing Chun. I'm hoping to get over to a place called Long Island Wing Chun. I've been training with a master out there, on and off now. A couple of seminars. Sifu Peter Koo. He's going to do an event where he brought 2 or 3 other Wing Chun masters in. He's got a beautiful big school. That's going to be the end of February, first day of. It's like a Saturday Sunday event. I'm trying to get at least to the Sunday event of that. Sifu Ron's going to do a women's self-defense seminar out in May. He's got a blade program that he runs called Edge, and he's going to do his 4th edition of that in April. So we're busy. The next month or two is like we're just getting caught up from the holidays, and but that said, stay tuned because I've been running workshops out in the woods.
I was going to ask about that.
I've had good luck with those, good turnout, and a wonderful experience. The next one I want to do is like an overnight, but I'll take guys up a mountain. We'll hike up the mountain, train on top, come back down, train down at the camp, and maybe possibly camp. I've also done day workshops where I'll take everybody up the mountain, and we'll train up top, have a lunch, train till we run out of daylight, and then hike it back down. And I've done now probably half a dozen of those. So every season, as soon as the season is available to us, I've been trying to run more of those. I want to try to do, one a month. Hopefully, as the warm weather comes. Stay tuned. Like get them, maybe get my newsletter list or throw me an email, and I can let you know when those events happen.
Yeah,
we're Connecticut based, so it'll be Connecticut mountains. But there is a beautiful space up in Massachusetts. I'm aiming at that. At some point this next season.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you started this, I was in Connecticut, and you invited me, and who knows why I couldn't make it. It's my loss. I was probably chilling with some Netflix or something, Sifu. But I always wanted it because it was right up my alley. I had been doing a lot of hiking, a lot of martial arts. I'm like, this is perfect. And I just keep forgetting what happened. But, my family's all back east, so I'm returning once to twice a year, and maybe when I'm there sometime, if you're doing one, maybe I can jump over and just get to the class and train. I miss touching hands with you, and it's been a number of years.
Yeah,
so
I bet you'd probably beat me up.
Nah, not even close. Not even close. You mentioned something earlier, that you're the same, but you're probably not. And I just had the same exact conversation with somebody. I said, from watching all of your old videos, DVDs, etc., and seeing you now, you're way faster now. You're way smoother, but you're also 30 years older.
I hear that.
But it don't matter. Trust me.
Yeah, totally. I think if you're dedicated, you're working out every week. And that's, I think, the part that's key, that's given me what I have. I work out every week. I never miss class, ever.
That's true, people. That's true.
Even when there's snow, I'm there. And anyway, it's that's the key to it. And then, off class, every day when I wake up, all day throughout the day, as I feel myself in my body, like I try to do I take the Kung Fu approach to all the other parts. Like, how did I schedule my day? Did I make sure that I had a balance? What am I eating? And I'm eating for fitness. So, this doesn't mean that you can't have a birthday cake or an ice cream if people are having ice cream, but generally I don't. And I don't drink. I will drink if people want to have a beer, but I usually don't because it just doesn't help my sport. So there's small things that I like to restrict in order to maintain a balance. So, just keep digging the well deeper. Get a little bit more gray. Hopefully that's wisdom that just arrived. But as far as fitness, totally, dude. I'm the best I've ever been today. Up and down, obviously each day of the week is a little different depending on how you slept. But reflexes get better, your instincts get better, your sensitivity gets better. Of course, teaching, like you just know how to say it with less words. Not that this podcast is an example of that, but that said, I think everybody's the best they've ever been right now today, in terms of their mentalism. And then that said, you can get your body right up next to it, but you got to be dedicated. You got to do something every single day. Your life needs to become like a piece of art. And I know you can't go back in time and erase the grays or get rid of the wrinkles. That's part of what made us cool. Yeah. But you can totally get your fitness in record time. It's what you eat, and it's a regular routine. And so that discipline makes the man,
Wow, interesting. Yeah, a lot of people don't think of the martial arts as a full life endeavor, applying it to everything you do. We always say, hey, you got great kung fu, but we could be speaking about your guitar playing. Maybe you're a runner. Wow, his kung fu is strong, Right. But it really does affect our lives, our daily lives. And if we follow some of these concepts towards the ends you were speaking of, yeah, it really can. I know that Kali rewired me completely, and I even remember the day I had that epiphany. A lot of strange things were happening to me physically and stupid stuff, reaction time, speaking like those cats. All of a sudden, I seem to have cat-like reflexes where, and this is no joke, there's a ninja movie where somebody's trying to hire a ninja, Shokusugi, and he knocks a coffee cup off the table and it goes straight down and he just catches it. I did that.
That's awesome.
I know all these weird things. And I went, you know what? It's all this training. It's all this kung fu, this Kali. I think everybody should learn Heaven 6. I think Heaven 6, I was going to mention it earlier. If you knew Heaven 6 and that weave, you're more than halfway there to being able to do something.
That's it, dude. And that gets back down to the very basics. I mean, that toroidal field I just mentioned in the artwork I was doing, that form, that is the Heaven 6. That's the downward weaving parabola. It's the X, and it can go up or down, but it's a weaving pattern, and it's the way the arms will move. It's what creates life, and from a martial artist point of view, it's the essence of flow. Is that harmonizing with that kind of behavior, that weaving, figure 8 style maneuvering. It's like you really could dumb it down to some of that. I think you need to sharpen certain moves, and then later on you'll discover that that's found everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing about Heaven 6 is I remember when I learned it, I was only visiting. And so the day I learned it, I went back to my hotel and I just practiced until I went to bed, until I felt I had it down. Now, I know we've discussed before, there's always 3 sections of your training. And the first is imitation. And that's what I had to do. And it was still confusing for a while, but once you get that weave, it's just it's like breathing. I now know how to breathe. I now know how to weave. And, it's a somewhat of a perishable skill, but you don't need a stick. You don't need a knife. You got 2 hands.
Yeah. You can draw you draw it in the air for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
think the value of empty hand fighting is that you don't really need any equipment, and you can still, shadow fight that you did have the saber, or that your hand became the saber.
Yeah.
The Heaven 6 is magic, dude.
It's
black magic. So then in the hands of a white magician, it has real potential.
Yeah.
In the hands of the wrong person, it's a very deadly skill. So, I mean, I want to take it there, but I'm very selective with who I will show weaponry work to. We can talk about it all you want. Me showing you how to do it is going to take a proof of character before I'll do it.
Yeah. Well,
try to honor the ancestors, you know what I mean, with great power.
Yeah. Well,
I got to be careful who I give it to.
There's a responsibility there, you shouldn't just train anybody, there are certain people I've met in my lifetime that I would never train, ever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't show them a darn thing.
Yeah.
And that's for the betterment of society. Now, for somebody who's truly bent on creating damage, harming other people, chaos, you don't need a martial art. A 3-year-old has the ability to grab a hammer and hit somebody with it with no training whatsoever, and the damage could be catastrophic.
Right.
So, not training those people, you're not doing anything bad. You're helping society, and I don't know. We don't need to go there. But,
no, listen. No, the martial artist is a gatekeeper.
Uh-huh.
If you've risen to the level where you feel skilled enough to share what you teach or what you know, you become a teacher, guru, or whatever it's called. You're now a gatekeeper, and it's a big responsibility. And so, I think if you're doing it right, you're doing what we're talking about, which is that you analyze a person's character before you give them the gift of war. Again, it's, you said it, like a 3-year-old could absolutely decimate anyone with a hammer. Oops, I was just playing. The cat's dead.
In my case, the fish tank is destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, but if you're a coach, your masters that you've trained with, if they did their job right, they were also cautious in what they showed to you until they trusted you properly. But again, like, everybody can learn the basics. Even if you don't yet know their character, you could give them something basic to study. And if they stick with it, actually, that's the first mark of their character, is that they dedicated, and they showed that they're dedicated, and they paid their tuition so that they know that's how you eat. They want you to help. They want to help the master maintain his livelihood. Mm-hmm. So you would never haggle. You just offer. And if he's a fair master, he'll never ask for more than what's, an average fair sum. And that's it. Like, then there's a nice karmic exchange. That's proof of your character right there. Anybody that owes you money, that comes to train, that doesn't have money and says, "Oh, this day I don't have it, I'll get you next week." Okay, you get the next week. Next week, hey, listen, I only got $5. Can you float me the rest? Okay, you're just showing me who your character is. Someone comes in and steals a shirt. They stole the shirt. Really? You want me to be your Miyagi? You stole the shirt. Earmarks. They come in and they interrupt you when you speak, and it's like, listen, did you come here to teach me, or did I come, or am I going to be your teacher? What's it going to be like? Do you want me to finish my sentence? They're showing you their character, and those are all important things that the teacher has to make sure he remembers. And so, there's a time to stop speaking, and then there's a time to say to the person, "Listen, I don't think this is right for you." That's the hardest part of being a coach.
Yeah.
Deciding who gets what. But you become like a father. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can't let your kids eat lollipops all day long. Or go out into the street and take hubcaps off cars. You got to say, no, that's not how we do it.
Yeah.
Stop it. So there's some of that allowed, but if a student keeps doing it, they're telling you their character. So certainly you wouldn't give them blades. Imagine you give a person like that blades, and again, like they're either a thief or an opportunist or or a liar or a bully, and all those things are problematic if you give them those skills.
Yep, absolutely. I was going to ask you about teaching earlier, but we went off on other things, and I think we should save that for another time, because I'd certainly love to have another conversation with you, Sifu. This has been fantastic, I just want to thank you, and hopefully we can do this again. And I've already got a number of questions that I want us to delve in. And
cool. I would be happy to do another time set. We went all over the place, and this is a lot of time. I know anybody listening, maybe they don't have the endurance to keep going to a 2 or 3 hour interview, but to be continued. We can get more into that. I have a little more time if you need it, but it's again, like we went so far into some of what we just did, but I know in some topics we just scratched the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And that's just the thing, and we can definitely keep going a little bit for sure. I want to give a shout out. Again, I asked you if you'd do this, and you responded to me, and you're like, "Hey, I'm available right now." So I didn't have my normal time to really do any research, and I just want to give a shout out to a bunch of my old classmates and Sifus from your school, because, as I'm looking through it, I'm remembering like, oh, yeah, this guy. Like, so first off, Chris, I was just speaking with him about a week and a half ago. We kind of reconnected, and but Chris started about 3 months before me, maybe even less, and we quickly became brothers there. And I've always respected him. He had very quickly the classic Wing Chun stance just sunk in. I mean, he looks textbook, and we spoke a little bit, and I know that he's gone off from Wing Chun, working out with Ron a lot. And Chris, Sifu Jake. Jake was awesome. He was my first Sifu because you were out of the country when I started. And so I had to go in there and take about 3 classes with Jake before you came back.
Yeah. He was overseas.
Yep.
That's great. He's still around. I'm now teaching his children.
Really?
He's my boy. I take him up. We go up to the casinos. Sifu Ron's son is a decorated not UFC. What do you call it? MMA fighter. He's fought for Bellator. He's fought for reality fighting.
Jesse James Kazakowski.
Jesse James. Shout out to Jesse James. We were just up at Mohegan Sun. But seems like every couple of months he gets a fight up there. So I've been tapping Sifu Jake and be like, "Yo, I bought your tickets. I'm picking you up," because he lives up this way. So I pick him up and take him to casinos, and we have a blast. It is it's really exciting to go up ringside and get into those, to just see these gladiators fight. It's a lot of fun. So he's still active,
Yep.
And that's great. You remember him. He's an ambassador for the art. Like he trained so hard and really like. He figured it out early, and then he knew what he was aiming for. I think his journey too is that he did some kind of kung fu before I met him, and was I believe instructor level, and then came to play with me. And I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I remember him saying like, "Man, those guys didn't show me anything." As soon as I got here, I was like, "Oh shit, this was what I was looking for this whole time." They did give him a good horse stance, but they didn't show him how to use it.
Yeah.
So he was very, very generous with his conversation. Praising the Wing Chun. I always push it up. I take it all. Dude, it's not me. I didn't invent it. I wish I could take credit for it. I just practice it. I'm like a tour guide. You come to train with me. I'm going to take you up the mountain. I'll show you the cool spots that are worth looking at. At the end, my skills don't belong to you. You got to get your own.
Yeah.
So we got to take every footstep. And he's a good case study for somebody that worked hard. He received the black sash, which means he got all the way through the art, captured all the forms, knows how to use them. I know I gave him all the best applications I knew at the time. Hopefully we could shake him out of the woodwork and get him back in regular classes. But he's also NRA instructor and does like the hunting course for Connecticut. He's very into firearms. He's an avid hunter. So he's doing other kung fu.
Oh, interesting. Well, you know, I've always, the level of skills that your top guys, all your guys have, has always impressed me. I mean, we've got Sifu Mike Scar, who I believe has his own school. Sifu Israel, Sifu Brian, who at the time was only coming in once in a while. And what I noticed about Sifu Brian was he was definitely doing other arts. He came in and he heard my interest in some of the Kali arts, etc. And so we were sparring, and what did he do? He started throwing elbows to, you know, the whole gunting thing. I'm going to gunting your fist. And it was like trying to punch thorns that entire time. I like wanted nothing more to do with Brian that day.
Yeah, I just saw him a couple of weeks ago. He came back to practice, and he's not lost a single ounce of his abilities. He's a great dude.
Wow.
He's doing very good.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah, and so he's cross-trained all over the place like the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
In Wing Chun, he's got a very deep Wing Chun base, but he also really loved the Kali arts and Jeet Kune Do, and then also some stuff that was more just self-defense oriented, that was about framing the elbows or the timing of things. He's again, like, we're all on a journey, and you should pick what you like, and then what's your own personal expression. It's not fair to give them names. At the end of the day, it's whatever you train the most. If you had to teach it, now you have this burden. You have to teach it. You have to call it something so people can anchor against it. You have to give them techniques. You can't just say what they would do. You have to show them what you should do. You can't just invent your own drills. You really ought to use templates that are pre-existing, that we know are successful templates. So I don't think he's taking any students at the moment, but he has been a good ambassador to go visit other schools and show them what we do. And he always says to me the same thing. He says, dude, every other instructor I ever had was like, they didn't want to spar me. I take that as a small win from my perspective, because I'll spar him any day. Who cares?
Yeah.
But you know, the other instructors just saw how formidable he was, and they said, man, give this guy some room.
Yeah. Jeez, wow, so amazing to watch him. I wish we had worked out more, but like I said at the time, his life was in a bit of a different direction, so he was just visiting for those years, you know, and geez, yeah, I truly enjoyed being at your school. It was such a, I even mentioned it to you, we're dealing with such violence, even though you're not advertising violence. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put a bad stigma on our arts here, but we are dealing with violence. And I said to you that I really appreciated that your school seemed to handle that in a safe manner. And I'm not talking OSHA type stuff. It's mostly respect. And, you know, I've been to some other schools where I just couldn't trust them, not even the instructor, you know?
Yeah. That's interesting.
So to find that safety that you provided, I can't think of it. I'm sure there's a better word for it. Within all that violence, you know, really meant something to me. It really gave me the freedom to learn. You know. Yeah,
it's an important part that's missing in a lot of schools. Is that they're tough, but they're not really helping people. You know, they're not helping their student base. Again, because they don't have the control, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, would you share just another minute? You got an experience that's worth noting that where you didn't feel safe in a gym, or you just saw the instructor was maybe,
well, you know,
you touched his ego too hard and he couldn't handle it, or what?
Well, you know, it's not always the instructor. Sometimes it's the attendants, the students.
Of course.
You know, but those are reflective of the teacher. You know, right. You could put those same people in your class and they wouldn't act the same as in, say, Joe Blow's class, where he doesn't mind if there's some bullying or, somebody who goes a little hard. Now, we're always going to meet those guys. Either they're not used to the sensitivity yet, and they don't know how to go hard without going hard. And you got those guys who do like to cause pain. I met a few of those, And
they're bullies. Yeah. And well, they ride their egos very, very close to the edge of their skin.
Yeah.
So if you show that you've got even any talent, or maybe they did a move and it failed, because they're just all talk, they can double down the strength and like to show off that they've got that strength. But
well, even when I did
Wing Chun's very special because your strength doesn't mean anything if you're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's cool if you have strength, but it's not a defining factor in your success ratio. Like, we don't fight strength on strength. So you could be as strong as you want, it's going to get used against you.
Yeah.
And a lot of other styles, that's not the case. I wonder, would you share what system that might have been where you did have one of those experiences?
Actually, in your school.
Fair enough.
But it wasn't indicative of your school. You know what I'm saying? At all. And this guy came in, and I remember we were doing this thing. We were throwing elbows, and I think we were trying to grapple them and flip them or whatever. And this guy came in hard and elbowed me right in the clavicle. Right in the I thought I broke it, And I just watched him after that. But he wasn't indicative of your students, and he actually, as far as I know, didn't last too much longer. He didn't come around too much that I remember of, maybe after I left. But, and I've had some teachers in Kempo just go a little hard, like, why do you need to do that? I've been in schools where you actively see bullying, and that's just not right. It's period. This is a learning environment. Yes, we're learning about violence, but we don't need to live it while we're here. Yes, we need to go hard once in a while. I love the fact that you sparred, and have your guys sparred. We usually sparred at about 20 to 30%. And if we went any higher, we put the pads on, right?
Yeah. Like a nice light spars. Yeah, that's
exactly.
Fair. 10 to 20%.
Even my testing, can I tell them what you do for your yellow testing?
Yeah.
So
that's great.
In Sifu Andy's school, your test night, first you have to do your Silun Tao, and you may need to make it last 15 minutes. And that's
first level.
Tough stuff, and then you start getting tested, and then the first hour and a half is that, and then a little bit of light sparring, and then the second hour and a half session, Sifu Andy has everyone spar, and we just keep mixing around, and then the test student has got to get the center of what he affectionately called the circle of death. And you start with the highest, so you start with Sifu, and then it goes to Jake or Mike, whoever was there that night. And actually, it was funny. Everybody, and I do mean everybody, seemed to show up for class that night.
You got a full, what do they call it? You got a 100-man kumite.
Yeah. Well, it was I did 22 rounds, I think, before I was knocked out.
Yes.
And
it was long format.
Yeah, it was and so what you have to do in this circle of death is spar everybody from the Sifu down to the lowest rank, and then back up again. And the way it works, people, is you, as the guy, have to do pure Wing Chun the entire time, while the first round, Sifu Andy and everyone else can do whatever they want. Boxing, Salat, Kung Fu.
Right, yeah, they want to do a takedown, they can a takedown, whatever. I say go wild style on them first.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And it's fun when you're on the giving end, but when you're on the receiving end, wow. And then on the
chaotic.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. But I want to take you to that fight or flight location, and I want to force you to keep going.
Oh, absolutely.
Again, I should caveat this. He's sharing that story, but it is quite safe. It's again, in this case, light contact, 10 to 20%. Fat lips and black eyes happen.
Mm-hmm.
Trips and throws occur, but we never lost anybody yet.
No.
The next level up ought to include a full contact, and so that usually is done with a helmet, gloves, and mouthpiece. That gets violent also.
Yeah.
So you had this first one, and again, like, it's a marathon to see what you're made of.
And I never, going into it, of course I was nervous. This was a personal test for me, more than just my kung fu test. This was a personal test for me. And I just afterwards, so there was a little accident. I fell down. I got knocked out. And that wasn't due to anything about the class or the school. It just happened, and I was thinking about it afterwards. I remember waking up and you were rubbing the webbing between my thumb and my finger. You were applying some healing techniques that you had learned. And it probably helped. I didn't have a concussion or anything, just a little bit of a headache, but it was at that moment that I realized, in the midst of all that, it may seem scary, but there was a safety, and I never once truly feared for myself. Going up against 22 people over the course of, I think we did an hour and a half, and it was supposed to be 45 minutes. Because, like I said, everybody decided to show up for Rich's test, right?
That was great.
And
I love it.
It was just, wow. And I had never truly felt safe in a martial arts class before yours. Now, since I've been lucky enough to pick the right teachers, Ron, James, but before that, I just never had great experiences. And I think that's what kept me out of the martial arts. It's not just, I have a family. I knew what I was looking for, and I also knew what I was looking for in a teacher. And teaching is just as important as sharing the art, and the teacher matters. It's like going to a psychologist. Just because you go to Dr. A doesn't mean he's the best for you. Maybe Dr. B or C is better,
Right.
And so I encourage people just in general to go seek out these schools, put a few weeks in, put some serious effort into learning if they're right for you. I just don't think that that's always the case. Now, I was chasing some hard arts like, Okinawan karate, Kempo, and a lot of these schools unfortunately suffered from the cookie cutter sales pitch. We have a formula, you're going to follow it, and I think a lot of the martial arts aspect was lost in doing that. No offense to Ed Parker, and wanting to share his art with the world, etc., or anyone else, but when you do a business first kind of attitude, you really open yourself up to not doing a good job. And that's what I had experienced until I came into your school, and, for me, the test was, it harkens back to, I kept turning my back on you, giving you my back and my side. There was I never exactly considered myself a weakling. I hadn't been in a lot of street fights, but I'd been beat a bunch of times and gotten in a few. And it was the amount of control. Could I do this? I was so nervous. It's kind of, I know I mentioned earlier that I do a Native American Sundance, and there's one aspect of it that everyone keys in on, and their concerns for it. But it's the least concerning. It's something else entirely that is the issue. And so I thought, for me, going into that night, I was a bit scared. I was a bit nervous. Could I do this? Can Rich Fern do this? And I found out I could, and it changed me. It was a big moment in my life, in my learning. And it kind of solidified the path I was on, because we spoke about it earlier. If you haven't been out there doing it or experiencing it, what is there? And while that wasn't exactly a street fight, and I wasn't too concerned throughout the night, it's...
Oh, you knew that because we'd been building up to it. You knew it was going to be a hard workout. And had you seen any other tests before yours?
No.
Okay. So there's nothing to anchor against.
Just stories.
Yeah. Of course, we like to build it up, but it is, having gone through it, it is a rite of passage that I'm trying to create for everybody.
Yeah.
And you got lucky. Since COVID, I haven't run any more of those tests, and it was for a couple of reasons. I don't want to go too much longer, but I'll give you this one little conversation. They shut the world off. I was real dedicated. We had a busy program going, and I'm very interested to give people that rite of passage. It takes a bunch of curriculum to get to that point, and I want to see that their fitness is the right level and that they're going to pass the test before I even invite them to take it. So take some training and some preparations. Anyway, COVID comes, they shut the gyms, whatever. We finally get back in. 5-6 months later, we're allowed to have class. As soon as I possibly could, I'm back in the gym. I tapped all my favorite people, said, "Come on out, see what you think. If you don't like it, don't stay. If you're feeling uneasy about the world, whatever." Of course, they're shutting down highways, and there's riots on the streets. They're burning cities, all in this time period. And so people came back, and I said, "Well, I'd love to do the traditional thing, and we will do forms, but you guys need knife work immediately. You need, multi-man attack. You need like the reflexes to deal with if the street gets shut down."
Yeah.
And I said, kind of change the format for at least a year or so, where I was less interested in putting people through their ranking skills and more about giving them like what I thought was the most raw self-defense needs that they needed. And we've since kind of softened that approach, and of course now and for a while I was closed. I wasn't accepting new students. It was just past members. If you were still someone I liked, I gave the invite. Otherwise, I wasn't publicly teaching for almost a 2-year thing. Like I was public, but I wasn't saying yes to new people for all the reasons that were happening at the time. And now we're back open, I would say, and I'm letting anybody come back in, but you're going back into the traditional path. I have not done a level test since pre-COVID, honestly, and it's not on purpose. It's initially like, yes, it was, but now it's just because it's a revolving door. You get a guy who's getting close, I really ought to test him, and then he dips off and he's gone. We call him, but it turns out he moved to another state. I have senior disciples who are all chasing black belts and apprentice levels, and they test every class, so they get to spar directly with me. I'll tell them what they're doing wrong. And it's less like, 100-man kumite. At the higher level, it's more like, every single time you touch hands with me, I'm going to push you to your limit. And if you're not training as much as I am, you're going to be gassed out early. So I try to push them and promote them and give them inspiration. But I look forward to getting back to it. I wait. I want to know that the student will pass that kind of test before I run them through it. Mm-hmm. There's some benchmarks I'm looking for, and so it's tricky to get them through the first level. That's where I lose everybody.
Yeah, I think you
even get them to the test takes the dedication. You're one of the few people that got to go through that test and actually showed you had the determination for it. So
yeah, I think even my test was rescheduled. I think we were supposed to do it, and then we had to reschedule it for whatever reason, and I never understood why. But it probably was, maybe Rich isn't ready yet, and you didn't say it like that though. And that's part of also being a teacher, is how you give those messages and communicate, because you have to do critiques. And I really want to delve into the aspect of teaching in our next show that we do, if we can ever get back together. And I would love to dive deep into that, but I know that you're a busy man, a job, an art, a beautiful family, and so I'm going to let you get back to that. And I just want to thank you for joining me on By the Blade. This has been a great conversation, Sifu.
Dude, amazing. Thank you again for the opportunity to ramble with you and get caught up. I'm glad to know you're doing well. I look forward to hearing this when it comes out. Share that with me, and we'll push it through the channels. All right. Well, I really appreciate it.
Well, do me a favor, Sifu. Hang on. I'm just going to go ahead and say goodbye to the people, and then I'll come over and talk to you.
All right.
You've been listening to By the Blade with Rich Fern. Join us next time. This has been a Spiral Studios production.